couldn't afford this mess to impede my vision. I'd scratched up the side of the car with my defensive driving, the red primer showing in spots. I hoped John wasn't too attached to this paint job. I threw the disgusting wad of napkins on the ground, and as I was about to enter the car, my eyes landed on a marking along the interstate floor. A red spray-painted eye looked back at me from the center of a crudely drawn hand. It reminded me of a pendant I'd once seen with the evil eye symbol, except this drawing was more simplistic. "What is that?" Chloe asked. She'd gotten out of the car and was staring at the graffiti. "I have no idea. And stay in the car, please." She looked at me and then back at the drawing before returning inside the vehicle. Then I followed suit. "Was that supposed to be the hand of God?" Chloe asked. "I'm not one for religion, but I don't think that symbol came from the Christian faith." "What do you think it means?" "The mark of the evil eye." Chloe stared at me as if I'd said something odd. "Isn't that a look you give someone?" "I guess, but it's also a symbol. Not a good symbol to receive, mind you." "Why would someone draw that then?" I sighed. It looked like I was in for another fun-filled game of 20 questions. "I don't know. Maybe to ward off evil, or maybe even to curse people. I'm not from the South, but aren't some people here big into voodoo?" Although Chloe knew some odd stuff for her age, I didn't know why I was asking a 9-year-old about this. "Once, Ethan let me go into a voodoo shop in downtown New Orleans. It smelled like smoke and stuff. They had dolls with pins in 'em and stuff in jars. The lady at the counter had no hair and spoke weird. Ethan said the place was a tourist trap." I grinned at that. I could picture Ethan trying to explain the store's contents to Chloe in a way that wouldn't frighten her. Well, he was right. I drove right over the symbol and continued on our journey. Chloe looked through the back window. Driving over that was probably bad luck. My luck couldn't get any worse, so I just shrugged. Maybe the symbol was from a gang marking their territory? But then, I hadn't seen any writing like West Side for Life near it. And didn't gangs usually like to identify themselves? Spray painting a symbol in the middle of the road was rather odd, almost like whoever had put it there wanted travelers to see it. The trip was taking longer than normal. Every once in a while, the sloshing of the extra gas in the canisters would reach the cabin, as if to remind me why I was going so slow. We needed this gas to last as long as possible. I didn't have the strength to break into the underground tanks at gas stations, so I had to stick to siphoning gas from abandoned cars. I was getting really sick of the taste of gasoline. "Why are you smiling?" Chloe asked me. I hadn't realized I was. "I was just thinking of our supply run from a while back. I said something snarky to Taylor about sucking on hoses." "I don't get it." "And you won't, for a few years." She crossed her arms with a humph. My thoughts drifted to Taylor and his final resting place at the cabin. Would we ever get a chance to return to his grave? Taylor and I hadn't always seen eye to eye, but I wanted to pay my respects, and John wouldn't let his grave be lost. If he's still alive. I pushed the thought from my head. I wanted to believe they were all alive, that they had survived the infected that had overrun the cabin. They had to be alive. I'd survived and managed to get Chloe out too, so they must be fine. They were a hell of a lot more qualified to survive than I was. "Look," Chloe said. The turn-off sign for Gretna loomed from the side of the interstate. The declining sun reflected off the metal sign as if it were a glass shard on a beach. Gretna was our stop for the night. I couldn't risk crossing the river and getting caught in the city at night. As I started down the turnoff, a dark figure flew out of nowhere, blocking my path. I slammed on my brakes, jerking us against our seatbelts. Well, that's one way to get yourself run over. I looked through the windshield at a man dressed all in black, a red bandana obscuring his face with an automatic rifle resting in his left hand. "Please turn off the car," the man yelled, still in the car's way. He was close